Welcome to the AI Assisted Organization podcast with Implement AI, hosted by myself, Piers Linney, and my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Alok Shukla. Hi, Alok.
Hey, Piers, how are you?
So you're about to go on a plane, I understand, to
Yeah,
over here actually.
exactly.
So we've both got some events this week with various. I think one's with is it Founders X? What's it called?
Founders Club, exactly. It's a members club in
Founders
London.
Club, Founders Club, and I've got a breakfast at the Dorchester talking about AI.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully it'll be a busy week and not as hot as it was last week. So we've kind of done 15 episodes now, and we thought we'd mix it up. So if you're a regular listener, we're going to change the format slightly. So we're going to talk about this week, today, about how to implement AI in a small and medium-sized business. So the idea is we're going to theme each episode, and this is going to be a two-part episode, otherwise a two-part series. Otherwise, we'll be here for 2 hours. So we're going to talk about, what are the opportunities of implementing AI in a small business. This is in part 1 today, and in part 2, we're then going to talk about how you actually go about implementing, and especially how you start using AI agents. And we're all about to publish our white paper on that too. So summary of this show is we're going to talk about some business news and AI news related to that. Claude Pro, which is a big launch, we think we use it quite a lot. We're going to start touching upon how to implement AI into your SME in terms of, how you start thinking about it. What are the opportunities? We'll give us implement AI updates, and then a little bit of an intro into AI agents prior to part 2 next week. And of course, we've always got AI of the week. So news. I mean, there's always a lot of news in AI, but as we always say, we try and focus on business-related AI news. Not some, how to create some rap track using AI. So there's been the biggest news, though, we think, because we use this a lot, and you're probably very familiar with ChatGPT from OpenAI, which is probably the most powerful large language model out there. Well, the one that's been used and has been sort of heavily tested. But the one that we use quite a lot is Anthropic's Claude Pro, and Claude Pro 2 to be precise. And the beauty of this one is, it hasn't got plugins in it. It's not connected to the internet, but it has a very, very large context window. And if you're trying to use a large language model or one of these chatbots, it's really important you provide context. And the more context you provide, then the better your output's going to be. So if you think about prompting, if you're providing very little context, write me a book about cats, it's going to struggle to write something which is relevant. If you imagine that your prompt is, 15 chapters of a book, and you're asking it right at the end, what is the last word going to be in this book? There's a high probability it's going to get it right. So think about context. And what Anthropic Claude Pro allows you to do is upload documents and up to 100,000 tokens, which are more or less kind of words. Now, they've launched Claude Pro, and one of my frustrations with Claude is that, cause I use it quite a lot, is that I'd run out of time, run out of tokens, and it'd say, come back in 4 hours. And I often sit there on my hands for 4 hours waiting for this thing to kind of refresh.
You'll message me.
So Claude Pro, and you use it a lot, don't you, as well, in
100%.
terms of for writing documents, and especially longer documents. ChatGPT tends to run out of steam at about 500 words, but Claude Pro can easily produce a document of several thousand words. So Claude Pro is a bit like ChatGPT Plus. It's $20 a month. You get 5 times the usage on that you get on the free tier, and the ability to send many, many more messages. You get priority access to Claude during high traffic periods, which can be quite important when different continents come online during the day. And you get early access to new features going to come out of Claude. So to me, this is really quite helpful. What do you think?
No, I think it's brilliant. I had the same issue you've had, like where it says that Claude 2, you've exhausted your use capability now. You have to wait 4 or 5 hours, and that's quite frustrating because often when you've been working with a large document for a while, you're getting quite deep into it, and you've got that all that context, not just in the LLM, it's also in your brain. So you're also like completely fresh in that zone. And then when you have to come back after a while, that's the problem. I really like Claude 2. I find it excellent for summarizing. I find it really, really good for getting the elements from different documents because you can upload multiple documents. And honestly, like for like analysis, I would say it's my go-to for text analysis and creation in that way. And GPT, obviously, and code interpreter is fantastic for many things. But I think this is just an illustration that you need multiple AIs and work as a team of AI. And we're going to be coming into that. there's no one solution for everything. We've heard some people say, "Oh, when this comes out from this company, I'll wait for that." But it's not like that. It's literally everywhere, and you need to like figure out how you want to leverage it the best.
Yeah, and it's like you imagine a race and a horse race, and then the one at the front keeps changing. It's a bit like that. So you don't need to keep sort of flip flopping around based on who's got the best large language model this month. But if you haven't used Claude, and especially Claude Pro now it's available, then we suggest you go and have a go at it, especially for document and content generation, especially long form. So you got Google Bard, ChatGPT, but go and have a play with Claude Pro. Even if you use the free tier initially, just to get an idea of its power and how you can use it, and then maybe consider going up to Claude Pro for that $20 a month. It's definitely worth having a play with it. Now, some other AI news. Now, I think we said last week that Apple, they've been quite quiet about AI. They've avoided using the term in their announcements, but they're now warming up to something. So Apple apparently is spending millions of dollars. Not that it matters to Apple because it's got literally billions in the bank, but millions of dollars a day on developing AI application solutions and training various models. And given the distribution of the ubiquitous devices, then this soon is going to be in everybody's hands. So it's going to be really, really powerful. And this is going to be large language model powered applications and capabilities on their phones and other devices. It's going to be everywhere. So you've got Amazon, they're embedding it into artificial intelligence. You've got Google Duet has been launched. Microsoft Copilot is on the way. And you're seeing that every SaaS company now is embedding artificial intelligence into their applications. So it's kind of there, even if it's sort of deeply embedded. So the question is going to be, which we're going to come on to in the rest of this pod, is how do you differentiate? Because there's going to become a point very soon where, and everyone's got the same things. You're using Google Duet, you're using Microsoft Copilot. And once everyone's got the same tools, how do you differentiate? And the ways of doing that, one is learning how to use them properly, and one is adding value above and beyond those tools as well.
Totally. It's a bit like Google Maps and Apple Maps, right? Like they do the same thing, but like different people have different preferences for different ones. But Apple's going to have their major announcements this week for their new laptops and iPhones and everything like this. So I'm interested to hear if they mention anything. They probably may not, but you can't. It can't be very long before they start embedding these into new OS updates and having different systems and different things like that built into it. And I think Apple has huge power. Who knows? Who knows? They might even create their own version, which developers have to use if they're apps in app stores and stuff like that. They could completely disrupt things if they wanted to. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
Yeah, it's like, when does this technology appear? Siri and Alexa. That's what I'm waiting to see, and that
Yeah,
day is coming very, very
exactly.
soon. Another piece of interesting news, not really news, this is something that I've been reading. So people often ask me, enjoy the pod and I need to learn more. So you can get into the detail, into the weeds, or you can sort of start, my advice is start quite high and work your way down. And Mustafa Suleyman, he's a co-founder of Google Deepmind and Inflection AI. So Inflection AI has I think it's called Pi, which is an AI I often chat to just to see how it works. He's written a book called The Coming Wave. And this is really about how AI will shape the world. And the key takeaways are that AI is going to have an incredibly broad reach. It's going to democratize access to lots of technology and the power of technology, and accessing business strategies and creating new applications that almost anybody can access. And that's going to create a power shift. So usually it empowers those with the capital, the assets, the history. Whereas, a lot of this technology you can now access through open source, and it is extremely powerful. So you're seeing now this open source technology that's democratized is going to change the world. And the people with the historically have enjoyed, power and the capital to embed technology, they're going to be disrupted. And the point here from a business point of view is that I would also advise you to read Sam Altman's blog, Moore's Law for Everything. So Moore's Law, if you're not familiar, he was one of the founders of the sort of the Silicon Chip era, really, and Intel. And he said that, transistors, these are the things on chips, essentially, they're going to double in terms of the number of them on a chip every 2 years. So that the price starts to plummet as this technology develops. And you're going to see this in everything. And the point here is that if you're running a small and medium-sized business, then the world is going to change massively in the next, 2 years, 3 years, definitely 5, absolutely 10 years. And very, very quickly, you're going to have to be able to compete in a world where, as this technology is deployed, the cost of these things, going back to Sam Altman's Moore's Law, the cost of delivering services or lots of different things begins to plummet. And with that, that means that in a competitive world, prices begin to fall as well. So if your competition can reduce their prices because they've now got this expanded margin and they can soak it up, and you can't, you're going to go out of business.
No, totally. And there's so many interesting things happening at the edges. I was reading an article where like one VC fund is funding a guy who's basically taken Facebook's model, Meta's model, Llama, and he's been tuning it to basically be a completely uncensored LLM, uncensored GPT. So like, so with GPT, if you ask it legal things and things like that, it won't answer those things. He's created like a kind of like completely uncensored one. So you can imagine like the information asymmetry that's going to be possible for many people and companies that are adopting this, and the speed asymmetry, because really by adopting AI, you get, insane speed, differentiated experiences and immediate wins. It just becomes a momentum. And these different wins, they're not like linear. They stack on each other logarithmically. So, they multiply each other. And so it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to reading that book as well.
Yeah, I don't read books. I have Audible. So yeah, you're right. This is going to compound. So the point here is that if you're running a business, you've really, really got to start thinking about this right now. Even if you're going to start at 30,000 feet in macro and understand the landscape, at least understand that, because you'll very, very quickly begin to understand why you need to think about embracing and deploying AI within your business. So let's get on to our sort of theme today, really, which is about how do you implement AI in a small and medium-sized enterprise, and where do you start? So if you look at our white paper, the AI-assisted organization, a blueprint for SMEs, we use this sort of the AI-ometer, I call it. So it goes from kind of level 0 to level 5, a bit like autonomous cars. Level 0 is they're literally using no AI. You might find that there's some machine learning in some of the SaaS applications you're using, quite often even your accounting software, but you're not really aware of it. All the way through to level 5, where AI is making management decisions. There's no one sitting around your board table, essentially, apart from technology. So go and read our white paper to give you the background to that. And essentially, you're going to see AI. Everyone's going to be kind of at level 0 to level 1 quite soon, because almost every SaaS application is embedding AI into it, be it your accounting software, be it your customer support software, your sales pipeline software, CRM. They're all racing to try and create some value by embedding AI. Also, it's kind of to protect their position as well. So our advice is understand this, embrace AI before your competition does. And as Alok was saying, adoption is going to be rapid, but in like any technology, it's not going to be uniform. And quite often, historically, you could take your time. You could sit back, see who the winners were, see what worked, and have a think about it, and then come back to it later. It's different in artificial intelligence. Yes, you've got a year or two to really look at it, kind of. But essentially, as Alok was saying, as it begins to take off, it begins to compound very, very quickly, and it becomes very, very difficult to catch up. It goes back to our favourite examples of the train leaving the station, or in my view, the boat leaving the harbour, and it comes to a point where you can't catch up to it. So what we're going to do is go through, maybe we'll take one each, Alok, as we go through it, of the various opportunities of where you can implement AI to make a difference in your business today. Right, I'll let you go with the first one. So let's talk about personalization.
Yeah, okay, great. So the whole point here within a small, medium-sized business, like the more responsive and the more tailored you can be towards your customers, the more likely you are to convert. Like we all know within marketing, if you've got like your email list, you want to segment that email list because you can send different messages to different people, like whether they attended your event, or they opened your email, or whether they've not clicked at all for like 90 days. So the same thing with personalization means that you can then customize for individual preferences, because we all want to be responded to in the most personal way possible. If you think about Amazon, for example, the homepage of Amazon is tailored to what you've bought in the past and what you're likely to buy in the future. And big companies before were the only ones that could do things like this, but recommendation algorithms or personalization of messages and things like this can totally happen now. So as an example, if you're a bike company and you saw that someone had abandoned purchasing a bicycle or something like this, you can have a video which is automatically created based on what the abandoned cart item was to that person with their name if they'd logged in or partially completed the details. Say, hi Piers, I saw that you were trying to check out on this mountain bike. Is there something I can help you with? Because I know that sometimes the configuration can be a little bit like this, a little bit like that, and you're going to be much more responsive, and that could be as a WhatsApp message or whatever. So I think the key thing here is like personalization requires capture of data and communication. So if you've got more information about that person, like their email or their phone number, there are so many AIs out there now which can then search up social profiles and then bring back details about that person, which means that you can then customize with voice, with like an audio note, video where it's like a person presenting and the voice is edited out, or even recommendations of other products which they could be interested in. So personalization by itself, people say, oh, you need more customers, but sometimes you just need more of your customer. So if you get more spend per customer, that can make a big difference. And this personalization can apply not just to your customers, to employee onboarding, to training, to so many decisions. So the key thing here is like capture the data and think about it intentionally, and then start to leverage it to start tweaking your experiences.
Yeah, and then you get into hyper personalization as well. So when people read things, it sounds as if it's just been written specifically for them. They can't see a difference between, it doesn't look like in any way, shape, or form that it's some kind of generic email or communication. Now, the next one is opportunity, really, and this is an obvious one, really. It's about efficient operations, optimizing, about increasing productivity, increasing efficiency. So what AI allows you to do, and we'll talk about this in part 2, really, of these 2 pods, is automate tasks. I always say automate the mundane, and we'll talk about the impact that has on employees as well, which is a positive one. And this is to enhance speed, and reduce costs in your supply chain and how you deliver products and services, and just to speed up business processes. And in many ways, people tend to focus on this. There are growth opportunities, but there is absolutely no doubt that artificial intelligence, and again, we'll talk about AI agents down the line, is going to change your cost base. And going back to, Sam Altman's Moore's Law for everything, this is where, the cost of content and various other inputs into a business are rapidly tending towards zero. So as that happens, you need to make sure that you can do that as well. So otherwise, your margin is going to be out of kilter with the rest of the market.
The third one is data insights. So data insights is key because having the right, once you've got the ability to use AI to focus it and tune it at a data set, it's like putting Predator night vision goggles on. You can suddenly see everything in like spectral color that you could not see before. So I think one of the interesting things is like, I'll give an example. You can put in large call sets, like large data sets from like numerous phone calls, numerous meetings, numerous employee CVs and different things like this, and you can then start to analyze. Show me the ones which were successful. These are the ones who were successful. What patterns can you identify? And you can start to identify lots of different interesting patterns. As a side subject, like I'm becoming quite serious in my chess, for example, and I use some chess engines where they actually tell you that this opening has a 60% win rate or this or that, because the data is always capturing based on the scenarios of what you want to do, and it's analyzing millions and millions of games. So in the same way, if your system
is that how you win in these? Is that how you win in these chess
no.
tournaments?
But I'm taking it like more seriously. But now in the same way, you can apply that to, let's say, all your closed sales. So imagine you like loading the customers, the full data and the transcripts of the customers that closed, and you say, okay, show me what patterns are here, and then show me in all my leads which ones are more likely to go there. So some of these things require a little bit of setup. But before, it required an expensive data scientist or different things like this. Now you can have the ability to like set up your almost like data insights engine, and you can start to get really actionable insights, because then it'll be like, reach out to this person, do like this, change your recommendation to that. I mean, our podcast is a bit of an example as well, right? We've been analyzing data on like what insights and what people are searching for, and we're tuning to that. So data insights is absolutely key.
And also, you don't have to be afraid of not understanding the questions that you should be asking. With AI, it will just go and look at the data and respond to you and provide useful insights that could be helpful based on what your objectives are. So it is very, very, very powerful. Next one really is innovation through generative AI. So a lot of the AI that we've become familiar with is generative AI. And what it's very, very good at is, believe it or not, is generating AI. So GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. And what it's very good at is understanding and generating content. So you've seen everything from text, which you're quite familiar with, to videos, to photographs, animations now, and even 3D images now as well. So that's extremely powerful, and that's one of the sort of fundamental base use cases that I would say. It's the creation of text, audio, video, and 3D assets. So what it allows you to do is not just create loads of documents, and we'll talk about prompting and the power of that, and why you need to understand that. What it allows you to do though is to test, is to you talk about MVPs or documents or trialing things with customers or hyper personalization. Your ability now to generate content it's been super powered, it's been scaled up. Now, it's important you understand how to do it, how to provide context, how to prompt. Otherwise, all your content's going to be very generic and sound like or look like or read like everyone else's. So the power of your team, especially in marketing and content marketing, we use it a lot. And what you still can't do is just expect your AI to churn out some long form documents and then send it out into the world. You still need to provide that human oversight, human input, human review, and especially if you're an expert in the field, because you're still probably going to know more about it than a large language model. But what it will do, though, is get you 70, 80, some cases 90% of the way there, especially if it's trained on your tone of voice and your house style. So that is a 30 to 50% cost saving in marketing and content generation out of the box.
I'll give an example. I was working with a glasses manufacturer, and before they would have to almost work 1 year to 18 months, more than 18 months ahead, where they would try and predict different trends of where things would go. And before they could even show the frames to a massive buyer, let's say someone from Vision Express or Specsavers, they have to then first of all design a prototype, have it manufactured in wood or different materials in the factory in Asia, and come back. So this whole massive time before they could even present something where they would get a theoretical potential order, which is not even confirmed. Using generative AI, we were talking about how they could actually create digital prototypes from it, potentially 3D print or get even a digital try-on for the people who are potentially looking to buy them. So if you could take something which would take from idea to showing it to a potential buyer, which would normally take 12 months or 9 months, plus the manufacturing cost in Asia, and you can shrink that, and digitally you can even show multiple options in different ways before doing it. I mean, your cost saving, your agility is enormous. So I think the key thing here is generative AI can make websites, text, code, images, video, anything, adverts, whatever you want, product photography. You can develop this much faster. So it's very, very powerful.
And then moving on, go on to customer interaction, because it's kind of a bit like your sort of spectral view of the world, but again, it's a slightly different facet.
Yeah. So for improved customer interaction, if you think about it, customers, when they get in touch with your company, there's something that they couldn't solve. So they want to either know when is something arriving, how, some details for that thing, or even help to use that thing, for example. And typically it can be quite frustrating if the person you're dealing with when you're texting or emailing doesn't know all the details. But if you've got, for example, a large language model which has access to the shipping data, the manufacturing data, and everything like this, it's able to answer in real time to somebody about when something is due, what might be happening. Plus also if they've got access to the manuals. I mean, let's look at manuals. Manuals are not the greatest experience in the world, right? This white piece of paper with small black text written in 15 languages, and you're trying to figure out what the thing is, versus an AI which had the instruction manual, could be like, hey, activate, scan this QR code. What do you want to do next? Take a photo of the thing. What's the next step you want to happen? So onboarding of customers can become much nicer, and you can offer it improved in customer interaction. There's other things you can do with generative AI, which it can understand voice, so it can turn the voice into text. So you could have systems where you can literally talk to an AI and it can then solve or consult for you, or even customize, what you're looking for, let's say a table or a particular legal service or anything like this. So you can offer a really differentiated customer experience using AI. And I think the key thing to think about here is it's not just a chatbot, it's a chatbot with a face, a voice, and potentially also all the knowledge you could potentially want. It's the best employee you could potentially have, which would always consistently and empathetically, answer to your customer in a warm Irish or Scottish accent or Geordie accent, whatever you want.
Yeah, and so carrying on from human resources, I'm going to flip the last two we want to talk about. So one is the amplification of human resources. So I wrote an article about this. It's about scaling up human resources, scaling up people, superpowering them, whatever you want to call it. And the point there is that automate the mundane, right? A lot of us, no matter what you do, spend a lot of time doing things that you would rather not be doing, especially if you're paying, highly qualified, motivated talent to do things where, their job, the meaningful part of their job is probably 50% of their day. So what this allows you to do is not only just scale up their output, but also make it more meaningful to them. And that means that they're going to enjoy working your business more, and they're probably going to stay for longer, and it's going to reduce churn as well. And also you can attract better talent. One of the big issues we're going to have in the coming years is a shortage of talent. So there's going to be a fight for that talent, especially talent understands how to use this technology. So if you're not using it, so you're not making their day more meaningful for them, you're not going to be able to hire the talent. So that's actually really important, is that embed AI into your business. The opportunity is to scale up your people, scale up your team, but also make them happier and make them more likely to stay with you for a much longer period of time. And as your business grows, what this means is that as the top line grows, your costs aren't growing with it. And in the middle there is margin, either profit or the ability to reduce prices and to become more competitive.
100%. I couldn't say, like, I mean, the whole point here is that the AI could just like upskill your team, make them work faster, and give you new insights that you couldn't have before.
And the last one, really, isn't it? I mean, talk about the strategic advantage. This is the big one, really, is that if you sort of wrap that all together.
As we said at the beginning, AI is really going to give you the power to do three things. You're going to have insane speed, that all of your tasks can happen much faster, either done by a human or by agents directly. The other thing can give you differentiated wow experiences, like we talked about, using generative AI for customer support, for onboarding, or for new customization options that didn't exist before, delivered entirely through AI. And then the third area is to kind of like help you have immediate wins, which is eliminate cost out of your operations by having tasks done much cheaper, much quicker, or even entirely automated. So that's the key thing. The companies that do those things are just going to be fitter, stronger, and faster than other companies that are not doing that. And then they're going to be able to offer, imagine they had one product, they could offer 2 customized versions of that very quickly. And then if customers, prefer this one and prefer that one, they would maybe go from 50% conversion rate to maybe 65% conversion, because the 15% that wasn't buying 7.5 by option 2 and 7.5 by option 3. So all these kind of compounding wins can kind of really help a company go from a stagnant position to a fitter, growing position. And that's the key thing here. There is no magic button. It's about getting it into all of your people across your company and really powering it.
Yeah, and then we're going to come on to it after on the next sort of part of this, after some implemented updates, and also part 2 is then. So you've got the basics, which is implement AI that's kind of available, it's out there, use it, learn how to use it, optimize it, augment your people, augment your teams, so they go from zero AI to maybe level 1 or 2, where they start to use it and they begin to scale them up. And the next stage then really is to then develop AI agents. Imagine you've got yours, Alok always says, you've got your payroll essentially, and you've got your sort of AI agents, and over time they begin to augment each other, and then inevitably some of the human requirements are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. The question is, when is that going to happen? And we're going to talk about AI agents next. Now, let's move on to some implement AI updates quickly. So if you enjoy the podcast, if you are listening to it, please rate us. If you're watching it, please subscribe to the channel and also leave a comment. We'll love to hear what you've got to say. We've got events. So we mentioned it before. We've locked in the event on the 18th of October in Manchester, with the Manchester Growth Hub there and Tech North advocates. And that's going to be in central Manchester on Princess Street on the 18th. We've also got another private event for enterprise clients with a partner of ours, SCC, on the 19th. That's an invite only. And now, look, you're off to Dublin.
That's right, on the 29th of September. We're excited, looking forward to meeting about 70 business owners in Dublin, and that'll be really cool to talk about how to implement AI within their businesses.
And then going back to augmenting human resources, so we are just topping and tailing our white paper on AI agents, what that means, which we're going to come on to, and how you augment your sort of workforce essentially. That's coming soon, so look out for that. And when we launch that, we're also going to start doing some AI agent labs. So this is going to be going through almost the white paper and explaining it, but also then starting to show you some demos and MVPs about what this actually means. What do these new AI-driven employees essentially, what do they look like and how do they work as well? And we've also now begun to roll out and deliver AI training. So if you're interested in which, no matter where you get this from, you need to make sure that your team understands what AI is, understand the basics of how it works, because that helps you to use it, and then knows how to actually use it in terms of the basics, things like prompting. So we've got a whole range of training courses covering all aspects of implementing AI in your business. And also, we've now got the AI Activate Sprint. So we've been working with several clients over the summer. This is a 60-day sprint, and it basically gives you the basics, introduction to AI, a 60-day sprint to create an MVP or just look at a workflow, a key workflow in your business where you have a huge amount of cost or friction and trying to automate it and reduce that cost or friction materially. Anything else you want to add, Alok?
No, I agree with you. Like the whole point here is like with training for your team, if you think about the hourly rate of your different team members, you think about how long a task takes, that's exactly how much it costs you for that thing. So if you can shave off, half an hour, 1 hour per task, and then have it done much quicker, you've got so many quantifiable savings. And you think if you've got, 30, 40 employees, it starts to add up quite quickly. And I think the whole point with AI agents is like training is using general AI. AI agents is like customized and specialized AI, basically, right? So you want to have those two things within your business where your employees are using the general tools available to them in a very powerful way, but you've also got specialized AI, which works for you in the way you want it to work and delivers those results. So really looking forward to kind of delivering those workshops.
And that's the key. So moving on to the sort of second part is that that's absolutely the way to explain it, is that your SaaS that you're buying, the AI that's available, yes, you can use it, but everyone's going to have it, at the end of the day. Everyone's going to be able to pretty good at using Google Duet or using Microsoft Copilot
Google
or
Translate.
ChatGPT or Bard or Claude Pro, whatever it might be, the whole thing. Everyone's going to have access to it. So everyone's got access to the same tools. How do you differentiate?
Yeah.
And that's where developing your AI agents comes into it. It's developing ways of automating your business and running your business, empowering your employees, and delivering goods and services in the way that you want to, not in the way that some large tech companies told you you're going to have to. That's a big difference.
100%.
And we looked at some research from McKinsey, didn't we, where they're saying AI agents have the potential to automate up to 50% of work activities by 2060, which is quite a long way out from where I'm sitting, to be quite frank. But if you look at it and again, if you look at our AI assisted organization white paper, there's a graph on the front of it. And it doesn't matter where you are as a human, wherever you are on an exponential curve, you think that the world's going to continue from that point in a linear fashion. And it isn't. Most of these forecasts are going to be horribly wrong, like they were for personal computers, like they were for mobile phones. And even if it was 50% by 2060, you're looking at the trajectory to get there means that there's going to be material change to business and margins in the not too near future as well. So what we're going to be talking about in part 2 really is, yes, here are the opportunities, fantastic, but how do you get from level 0 of AI in your business to level 1 or level 2, whatever that might look like for you, and not the whole business? We're looking at workflow by workflow, department by department. And in terms of training, which is really important, is person by person, aren't we?
Yeah. And if you think about it, who do you want doing your operation? Generalist or a specialist? Right? So the same thing when it comes to workflows. You want to have specialist AIs which will be like looking after and mastering those workflows and doing it in a great way. So yeah, looking forward to diving into that in the next episode.
So that's going to be part 2 of this podcast next week. AI agents, what are they? How do you implement them in your business? How do you begin to automate these workflows? So we're going to finish on AI of the week, and you might have guessed this one again. All the AIs out there are for consumer use or a bit of fun. The AI of the week is Claude 2 Pro. And if you haven't used Claude, if you haven't even heard of it, then go to Anthropic's website and even try the free version. But once you've had a go of that, I think if you're trying to generate any kind of content at any kind of scale, you're going to want to sign up for Claude Pro, $20 a month. But if you can't generate that value in your business very, very quickly, then there's something wrong. So Claude Pro is probably the best LLM for generating longer form content, understanding documents, providing context. But again, like anything else, you need to know how to use these things, how to prompt them and how to provide that context and how to generate the output you actually want. So maybe we could help you with that. And anything else? Have you used anything else this week you thought of interest?
It was just that note app I mentioned that had the GPT built into it, and it was quite nice because you could transcribe and then it could then create it into a calendar or create it into a list of different things like this.
What was that called?
I can't remember, but like I think the AI of the week is called Claude 2. So I want to keep people's
Okay,
I want to keep people's focus
Claude
on one thing.
So as always, we're going to leave it there. Sign up for our AI Insider newsletter. Go to the website and sign up for that. Please do download our white papers. If you're listening to this, please provide a rating on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching this, then please do subscribe and leave a comment. We absolutely will respond to them. And that's it for this week. We're going to be here again next week, talking about the next part of this dual sort of podcast, which is about how do you actually then implement AI in your business using AI agents. So that's it this week from the AI Assisted Organization podcast with myself, Piers Linney and Dr. Alok Shukla, and we'll see you again next week.
See you next week.